Variations within species and even creation of new species is possible and has been observed. That is science and is no problem for Bible believers who say that God clearly said they will always bring forth after their kind.
Thank you for finally admitting that evolution, including macroevolution, the origin of species, really is observed science.
Now, where exactly is a kind compared to Carolus Linnaeus' classification system? I don't think it's the same spot in every instance, and it doesn't matter. See, God made the kinds before Carolus Linnaeus made his classification system. So I think the word kind is very descriptive.
Why? Because it doesn't describe anything? Or because no one, including you, can even define what a kind is? At the very least, you should be able to point out where that mystic division is on a cladogram. That was the phylogeny challenge you failed to answer, remember? I mean, you did try to answer that, unwittingly, of course, since you couldn't understand what the challenge was. You were supposed to name two taxa, two examples that science considers to be closely related, but that you imagine to be different kinds. And unknowingly, you tried to divide dogs and bears, which are both caniforms, and you tried to separate butterflies from other obvious members of their same family. The point of the exercise was to illustrate how to know where that division is between created kinds that should not be part of any larger taxonomic category because they were created by God. You could not meet that challenge. No creationist can, because there's no such thing as a kind.
I think the four different varieties of elephants, African elephant, Asian elephant, a mammoth, and mastodon, are the same kind of animal, and a 5-year-old will tell you that.
But an adult would know better, partly because Proboscidea is a much bigger taxonomic family than you know. Let me give you a quick rundown on the evolution of the elephant. The base of their family tree is Moyotherium, which is strikingly similar to Pesosiren, which is a four-legged walking ancestor of manatees and dugongs. We have the complete fossil sequence for their lineage now. These two are at the base of Tethystheria, which includes both Proboscideans and Sirenians. We have the Oligocene Phiomia with pronounced tusks above and below, starting to look like a semi-elephant, though I think even a 5-year-old could still tell the difference. This Gomphotherium from about 20 million years ago represents the point in elephant evolution where both the upper and lower incisors grew to such proportions that, of course, the length of the nose had to increase right along with them and become more dexterous to make up for them. Now, these led to Tetralophodon, Trilophodon, Paleomastodon, and Platybelodon. The next really important stage of elephant evolution is when the lower incisors became tusks. And some of these didn't have such shovel-like teeth anymore. There was a space where the newly lengthened nose could slide between them, so that now they could be considered a true trunk, as seen here on Stegotetrabelodon. Obviously, there came a point at which these absurdly mutated teeth had become useless for feeding, which forced them to use their already flexible noses to rake and trowel food into their mouths the same way that modern elephants still do today. Initially, both the top and bottom incisors grew out as well as the lower jaw. Dinotherium represents the point at which that trend came to an end, when the lower jaw sort of dropped off, so to speak, leaving one now very long nose, which was out there by itself like it is on modern elephants. In the last couple million years, every species that bore 4 tusks and elongated lower jaws eventually died off, leaving only Dinotheres and the more familiar-looking twin-tusked proboscideans like Stegodont, which of course led to mammoths and mastodons and 2 species of modern elephants. And you thought there were only 4 kinds of proboscideans, and that they were all the elephant kind? That's cute.